fans awake. Friday nights and Sunday games, we know all the biggest names. Huddled with the crew we trust. Football feeds the fire in us. Fans Zone Live, we unite under the stadium lights. Every team, every score, we always hunger for more. Friday nights and Sunday games, we know all the biggest names. Huddle with the crew we trust. Football feeds the fire in us. Fan day morning, feeling alive. Jerseys on, we're ready to die. In the fan zone, we'll come on. Let's cheer out, let's stand tall. Back and forth, the stories fly. Who's the best? Fans can't lie. Touchdowns, tackles, we discuss. Feel the rush. Come join us.
Hey, welcome to another episode of Fan Zone Live. The chat is already going. There's a lot of excitement around this week's guest. Unfortunately, we were supposed to do this last week, but nasty storms through the Nashville area kind of knocked out the power to the apartments or the housing for the players. So we just call the bull again, doing it this week. Tyler Kulka, how are you doing?
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me on.
Glad you could make it. Things are settling down out there. Nothing's blown away.
Yeah, it's raining a little bit outside, but it's not tornado weather right now, so that I'm all right.
Big improvement from last week.
Exactly. Yes, you're exactly right.
Hey, Tim, how have you been? It's been a couple weeks since we got on this.
It's been good. It is actually. It's funny we're talking of weather. I'm actually quite happy with the weather today because last week was just stupid for us. You know, we go from like 75, 80 degrees to last week it was like in the 50s and rain all week. And I was attending CFL camp for the Alouettes, and man, I was freezing my ass off. So I'm glad it's better today. So I know what Tyler's talking about. Power and sun. It's all I care about.
Love it. I love it.
I got my share of sun this weekend. You see, the studio's a little different this week. I'm in the process of moving. The majority of my stuff's out on the other side of the state right now, so got a kind of minimal background for the next couple of weeks, but still planning on getting the shows done as much as possible, as long as I've got internet connection. I'm plan on making these happen. So
Sure.
Tyler, I got a little bit of your background and kind of where you've been, and you've been on quite a journey to get to this point. So why don't you tell everybody who doesn't know, where have you been? Where'd you come from? Where all have you played? What's your background?
Yeah, well, I guess I got to start from college. I was a 5-year starter for Lawrence Technological University, an NAIA school, and I started the program from scratch. I was the first quarterback since World War II for that school, and got an opportunity to build that program and hold every passing record now, obviously for starting for 5 years or whatever. But so I came from there, just a small school guy that, had dreams of playing in the big leagues and all that stuff, and decided that I wanted to go try my shot at the NFL and the CFL, and, got some workouts and things like that I went to. And then I ended up going to Japan, ended up playing in the X League in Japan, which is a really great brand of football. I really enjoyed it over there. I played over there for the Obix Eagles for 2 years. And then, came back here and got the opportunity in Nashville, and now I'm running with it.
God, that's a hell. That's some traveling there, man. It really is. Everybody hears about, they don't, if they've not heard of the X League. I know I've heard of the X League, but how does it differ for American football? Because some people know about the ELF, and that's expanded quite a bit as of recently. But how does the X League differ from any other, we could say, American football league across the world?
Um, differ is a good question. I think are you talking about like talent level, or are you talking about like the style of play, rules, things
Well,
like
it's
that?
whatever you've noticed
Mhm.
because, everybody knows I'm sure anybody knows American gridiron football is American gridiron football. I mean, there usually aren't many differences,
Right.
but again, it's where you've played, what the talent's like, and stuff like that. Because I said,
Right.
NFL, you have the NFL, then you have the CFL game itself, NCAA, you got, and I said you have how
Right.
they play football over in ELF and stuff like that. But for Japan football, from what you've seen when you got there, did you have any misconceptions when you got there about it? And it's like learning the arena game itself. It's something completely different, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But were there any misconceptions when you went to the X League, and then stuff that you learned once you actually got there?
Well, I would say the big thing that about Japan from that aspect is, first of all, the rules are very much like college. NCAA rules, they literally do the script. They literally look at the rule book for NCAA college football every year, and that's the rules they do over there. But I would say from a learning perspective, I think the thing that's crazy about Japan is their fundamentals are insanely sound. And the other thing that they're really good at is they're very disciplined. So like I was just talking to a buddy today that trick plays don't really work in Japan. Like it's just everyone's just very sound in what they do, and they're very good about focusing on their responsibility and stuff like that. And so when I was over there, it was very much like how they treat football is very much about um, I would say it's more analytical rather than let's take advantage of mismatches and, oh, my guy's faster than your guy, so we're going to run by him, or my guy's bigger than your guy, so we're going to run by him. It's very much like, no, if this guy does this job, then this should work and this guy should be open. It's very I don't know how to describe it, but I would say I don't know if
Almost
that makes sense, but
clinical.
it's very much like yeah,
Mhm.
exactly. Very by the numbers, by the book, stuff like that. It's very interesting,
Mhm.
analytical. Yeah, that's probably the right way to say it. So it's very interesting on how they look at the game, and how they call plays and how they attack it. It's just interesting to me where in America it's very much, oh, my guy's 6'7" and your corner's 5'10", so I'm gonna throw a jump ball here or something like that. It's just I had a 6'6" tight end, and I don't think I threw him a jump ball my entire time in Japan because we just never called that play. You know what I'm saying? Like it was very much like an analytical side of the game, and then also I would say very fundamentally sound. They're very fundamentally sound over there. Like little things like focusing on taking the correct amount of steps in your drop, and not only that, but then making sure you're in the exact right space in the pocket. And it's very, 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 yeah, very, very fundamentally sound. Very, they they're very good at what they do. Very focused on the little
I
things.
could see where that kind of discipline would help a lot coming to the arena game. Where it's so
Exactly.
quick and
Hmm.
you've got to just 3-step drop, send the ball to a point. I feel like that transitions really well to what you're doing now.
Exactly. No, you're 100% right. It's helped me out with the arena game immensely. And I'd say the biggest thing with arena game is everything's just so fast, and so you almost have to guess, and take this amount of steps and throw it to this spot. It's very much like that.
Some of the best quarterbacks in this league, that was their game. They never waited for a guy to get open. They just took
Exactly.
their steps, threw it to a point, and their receiver better be there. Like that's just kind of how they played the
Exactly.
game.
There you go, Kurt Warner right there. That's exactly what
Hmm.
he did.
No, and Ray Philly, I think at one point had a 10-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio in this league or in the AFL.
Mhm.
Um, yeah,
Yep.
10-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. And that was his bread and butter. Just throw it to a
Hmm.
point,
Yep.
trust your receivers to get there on time.
You're exactly right. Yep.
Um, how did you end up coming to the AF1, Tyler? I mean, as I said, you've had a very unique uh, uh, journey in order to get to Nashville. But um, how'd you get involved in AF1? I mean, had you seen the arena game prior to coming to Nashville? What was your story there?
Of course. I mean, I've heard a lot about the arena game when I came out. I had an offer from the Columbus Lions. Back then, they were in the NAL, and then offer from Quad City Steamwheelers when I first came out of college as well. So I studied the arena game a little bit back then because I kind of thought, okay, that's the route I'm going to take. And then when I went to the Senior Bowl at the National Scouting Combine and they invited me back, they had told me, oh, the Arena Football League is coming back. The AFL is coming back. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, whatever. And then 2 years later, I got brought back to coach, and I would coach the quarterbacks this year. And Jerry was there, the CEO of the league, and he's a great guy. And I met him there and a couple of coaches there and stuff like that. And they told me how great it was. And that was when I had heard about the arena league. I was like, oh, that's great. And then I talked to the coach from Washington, the Washington Wolfpack, a little bit. We couldn't figure out a deal and something along those lines. And then just kind of was planning on going to play in the IFA and figuring that stuff out. That's, that league. And then with all that stuff going on, Nashville kind of came out of nowhere after their first game. I guess they had some struggles at quarterback, and they brought me in, and, I'm very blessed and I love it here in Nashville. I love my team. I love my coaches, and it's a great spot. I don't ever want to leave.
So I want to ask you on the fans in Japan. I remember watching some of the AFL China games when they did a couple seasons there, and the Chinese fans were, out of all the plays, all the action in the game, what blew them away the most was the kickoffs. When that foot hit the ball and the ball went flying into the nets, the whole crowd was like, oh. They love the kicks in China. So how was it from Japan? Were the fans pretty knowledgeable of the game? Was there anything that stood out fan-wise that different from how things are here?
Well, they liked it. That's for sure. I know the championship game in Japan every year has around 40,000 people at it every year. So I know they love the game. Cheering wise, it's funny because it's delayed. It's interesting. It's like the big plays will happen, and it's very much like you expect the fans to start cheering, and then all of a sudden, like a second later, you'll hear it start cheering. It was kind of funny sometimes, but I wouldn't say there was anything out of the ordinary, like, oh, they loved the kickoffs or they loved the whatever. Like I feel like they understood the game pretty well and cheered very similar to how Americans would cheer for a game.
40,000 is no joke.
Yeah, there was that Rice Bowl every year has a lot of fans there every year.
The Rice Bowl? That's like
yeah, that's what it's called. No, it's actually called the Rice Bowl over there. It's called the Rice Bowl, and that's the championship they play every year. That's great.
That is awesome.
That actually is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wow. Did you find coming in? I know you said you'd seen some of the arena game before, Tyler, before you started and you came here to Nashville. Anything for you that you felt that you had to get used to? Because, one of the things that we've noticed this year, a little bit more than the past for what quarterbacks do is that, most quarterbacks in the past would usually go under center. I think you're more of a guy who is in the gun and whatnot. But I mean, were there any other things that you really felt that you had to get used to? I mean, besides, as you said, it's a fast game, and I'm sure you're getting used to it obviously each week, but any other things that you had to really get used to when it came to the game itself?
I think for me, I've done so many offenses, so the under center part wasn't crazy hard for me. Because in college I came in and we ran Michigan State's offense, very pro style, and then I ran a little bit of the RPO spread, and then going to Japan, it was very much like Detroit Lions, San Francisco type offense, so very under center. So I think the under center part coming into the game wasn't that difficult for me. For me, it was more like understanding the rules and understanding, okay, this linebacker can do this, and specific reads of like, okay, if he attacks this, then I can go here with the ball, or things of that nature. And so learning the different nuances of coverages and stuff like that, because I'm a big studier of the game. I prided myself as a player that wants to know what covers the defense is in before I snap the ball. And so for me, learning the nuances of coverages and, sky and cloud and one double and things like that in the AF1 game, has been really beneficial for me to learn, okay, this is what it looks like when they want to do this. This is what they're going to do, or what I have to look for to identify coverages. So I think that was the biggest thing, that the learning curve. And then also just the speed of the game, hurrying up my feet and getting the ball off on time.
And obviously there's getting used to the motion before the snap, or the waggle for your wide receivers. It gives
Exactly.
you a little bit early, a little bit idea of what type of read you're going to make when it comes to who you're going to throw to.
Yeah. What it really helps out is it helps me identify coverages, because they have to do, if they want to play some kind of zone, they have to show it with that. They'll show it with that movement.
Yeah. What's it been like being under an arena football legend in Darren Arbett?
Oh, he's a great guy. He expects a lot out of us, and some people thrive under that kind of pressure and some people, don't thrive. And so we got a lot of guys out of our team that maybe didn't thrive under that. But it's something that learned from, a very young age of playing football. And so for me, I thrive under that kind of coaching, and he does a really good job at getting us ready for game day. And I really do enjoy him as a person too.
Does he remind you of anybody that you've had before as a coach, or is he that unique of a head coach?
That's a good question. I never really thought about that. Not anyone that comes to mind from my playing career. But I think like it's interesting. He's very, very smart. He's very he does some things in practice. Sometimes I can tell where some of my players will come up to me and he'll get on someone to see how they react and to try and make them ready for the game. I know when I first when Rakeem Cato got traded away to Salina and I was with the team or whatever, there was quite a few times in practice where I was going to be the starting quarterback, and they didn't tell me that yet. But I think they kind of knew that was the plan. And there was a couple times where he yelled at me or he got really on me and something like that, and he wanted to see my reaction. And for me, that was very much like, it reminded me of the American Underdog story with Kurt Warner, where the OC with the Rams was yelling at him and telling him he wasn't good enough and getting on him all day in practice and stuff like that. But that made him more ready when it was time for his shot. And so I think he prepared me very well for that shot. And, I like to say now that, when people talk crap or, try and get in my head, I just am able to tune it out. And I really do appreciate him for that and teaching me that.
Well, and you're 4-1 as a starter at this point, so something's working.
Yeah, no, it's been a real blessing for sure, and I really got a great team around me.
So I got to meet you in Dodge City after the game against the Storm, and I approached you about this thing I'd seen in one of these Discord groups I'm on, where the folks in there they're all about Kulkamania. The Kulkamania is going to run wild. Was that the first time you had heard about that? That was that day?
Yeah, I mean, I had heard that was the first time I had really heard about it. And, this is blowing up. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. And then all of a sudden it's everywhere. And now, our the kids at home games have their own, picture, and they're calling it in and asking me to sign it afterwards. And, people are making t-shirts and whatever. And now it's blowing up in the AF1. So I'm really excited about it. It's really awesome, and I'm really enjoying it and kind of running with it too now.
That's one of the things about this league that, I probably say this every show at this point. That's one of the things I really love about this league is that you get that kind of interaction from fans of the players. You go
Exactly.
to UFL and I had season tickets back in 2020 before the world ended, and had a great time. Love the games, love going to the Battlehawks games, but I missed that interaction with the players afterwards. Even the players that I knew on the field from the previous AFL season. I couldn't see them, couldn't interact with them, and I missed that aspect of it.
Right.
This is the kind of thing you get to form those relationships, and these kind of branding, so to speak, can take off when you actually get a chance to talk to folks and get to know them personally.
Exactly. And I think that's one really good thing about this league that I think it's funny. Like the last game in Nashville, my wife and her family were able to come out to that game. That was our first showing of arena football that they got to see, and they were like, wow, this league is really blowing up, and it's really getting really exciting, and people are getting really excited about it. And it's really awesome to see. And I think that, all that branding and all that stuff and be able to meet and interact with the players brings more fans out to games.
So which of your touchdown pass balls did you give to your wife?
Man, I really wish I could have given her one. I didn't end up giving her one. They ended up getting 3 footballs from the game anyway, so I'm not too worried about it.
Bad.
Yeah, they did.
Not bad at all.
No.
Yep. Not a bad day for them.
What time that you've been, and obviously the AF1 is a first year league, Tyler. And what have you seen from when you first came into the league till now? what are some of the things that you have noticed that that you really, but besides the fan interaction, but that you really have enjoyed to see, whether it be improvements that you've seen, whether it be through teams, players, et cetera. But what's one of the few things that really has stood out to you so far, besides your play with Nashville, but that you've seen in the AF1 this season?
Well, I think I really enjoy our ownership. I think Jeff Fisher really knows what he's talking about. I was able to talk to him a few times, and I think he has really good plans for this league. Good ownership groups, people like that he's able to communicate with and make sure that they're stable. And I really think the other really big thing I would say is I've really enjoyed watching these teams grow. I mean, you look at Salina, and they were 0-5, and look at them now. Like, they're 3-5 now, and I think they have a good shot at getting that 4th seed in the playoffs. Like, they're just seeing the growth of these teams, and it's just been so impressive to me. And I think that's really fun to see. And it's even Oregon. That's another team that's as we maybe wasn't as great early on, and they're building themselves up to be a pretty dang good team too.
Playing off that little Salina scenario, if Salina gets the 4 seed and they go into Albany, who for whatever reason Salina just plays Albany just tooth and nail. They did last year. They did again this year.
Lost them in overtime.
Managed to pull off the upset in Albany, and Nashville has the 2 seed, wins their playoff game, and that game would be against Southwest Kansas at that point. That you guys are hosting.
We're hosting a championship. That's right. That would be pretty cool. I wonder if they do that one in Clarksville or they do that in Nashville. It'd be interesting to see.
That would be real interesting. We gotta get some more context, Tim. See if we can find out what the plan would be there.
That's right. It'd be pretty cool. I don't know. We'll see. I think, like I said, I think Albany's a really good team. I have a good relationship with Sam Casanova. He actually was the guy that I watched film on when I first was trying to come into arena football back when I came out of high school or college. And, he's a great player. And, but yeah, I don't disagree. I think that, Salina's got a good shot. They got Rakeem Cato's a great quarterback, and I think they got a great team. So it'd be interesting to see. And it'd be pretty cool to host a championship game. That'd be pretty cool too. Not only a playoff game, but a championship game too.
I mean, Albany is a juggernaut. They're not 9-0 for no reason, but
I know. I know that.
But teams are starting to get a little closer each week. It seems like the teams are getting a little bit closer. You guys had a great chance a couple weeks ago at getting to them. Salina took them to overtime. They're not unbeatable. They're a great team, but they're not unbeatable.
Exactly. So it's interesting. I'm interested to see how these playoffs shake out. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm really excited.
It can be very interesting, and from what we're seeing here, Tyler, that despite, as I said, some players that I've talked to in the past, it's like, we're just gonna go 1-0 every week. It sounds like you're the type of guy who doesn't mind saying what you feel. You don't mind reminiscing on the league itself. So, I mean, are you that?
Yep.
Are you that type of player? Are you a superstitious type of player?
I would say no. I mean, I'm the kind of person that I will say I have heard the narrative of, being 1-0 this week. And my coach used to say it all the time. And obviously that's the main focus. But, I think, being a player, you also kind of have to be a little fan as well, and you have to sit there and be like, wow, it'd be really cool if, we get this opportunity. And obviously when you go to practice and obviously when you go to the game, it's being 1-0 this week. And that's, we say that in practice all the time. It's a different mentality when you get into practice. It's a different mentality when you get into the game. But, when you come home and you're with the family and, stuff like that, and you're able to talk to people about things, you're like, man, no, like, it'd be kind of cool to host a playoff game. And we got a good shot to host a playoff game. And what if this happens and we host a championship game? It's kind of cool to think about that stuff. But obviously, when the lights come on and, you're in practice and you're focusing and you're watching film, it's 1-0 this week. I'm not worried about watching film against Southwest Kansas in the playoffs. I'm worried about focusing on getting ready for Corpus Christi this weekend,
When you got Corpus twice in the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, we do. So it'll be a good test for us. I mean, they got a great ball club and they're getting better every week since everything went down, losing all the players and stuff like that. I think, they're getting better every week. And so, we got to be prepared for them.
And and I can only imagine what it's like, as you said, with all the changes that's happened this year in the league from, finally getting the idea when it comes to that you need a good quarterback behind center. You need a good kicker, as everybody's saying, because most of the teams in this league do have a kicker that can use the nets properly, and stuff like that. And as you said, they've gone through their issues in Corpus Christi, but again, it's not the same team that lost to Albany all those weeks ago.
Yep.
It's just a matter of it's about what the locker room is like, how the coaches are dealing with the
Yeah.
players, and that type of thing. And it sounds to me, Tyler, that your locker room seems to be a great locker room there in Nashville because um, you're playing to win obviously every week, but you're also and I don't want to say this is not a slight. It's not a slight to Coach Arbet. You're not necessarily buying into what Coach Arbet says, but you believe in what Coach
Right.
Arbet is telling you guys as your head coach.
Exactly. And we really, really do trust him as a team. And, obviously him being a legend, having that track record. I mean, he says it all the time. I'm not in the Hall of Fame. When I first got there, it was a 0-1 in the AF1 football coach. And, so he doesn't, when we're at practice, we don't look at him as Arbet the legend. We look at it as, Arbet the football coach. And, he really helps us day in and day out to become a better football team and tries to prepare us the best he knows how. And, just like we're working every day to be the best, I'm working every day to be the best quarterback. And, my center's working every day to be the best center, and our receiver's working every day to be the best center. He's working every day to be the best head coach that he can be for us and prepare us, not only for, Corpus Christi and not only for Billings the weekend after, but he's preparing us to be ready, to go into Albany in that championship game and go get a W.
So how much does Coach Arbet stress the 1 minute timing rules and how to play during that time? When I was in Dodge City watching your game there, I remember the play right before half, and I don't remember the player got tackled basically at the goal line, and immediately he hit the ground and immediately wrapped his arms around the ball, timeout, because he knew that clock was ticking, and you could just tell it was programmed in him. How much of that is Arbet's influence with teaching you how to play the 1 minute timing rule, or is it that's just how you play the game?
Well, it's practice every day. And, we have a period every day that we do is 1 minute, and we go through and we work on the timing. We go through play calling. We go through this specific, we're moving the ball and, we got a play call. We got to go clock it here. We got to call timeout here, things like that. So it's situational football. And then at the end of practice, after our team periods, after our 7-on-7, well, I guess it's not 7-on-7, it's in arena, but they call it Skelly or whatever. But, we end the day with situational football. So, we have 27 seconds left and it's 2nd and 14 and we got to score, or we're down 4, or we're up 2 and we got to hold on to the ball for 27 seconds. It's very, very cool for me, as learning as something like that. I'm able to work on managing the game myself. And so it's a really, really cool period for not only, me, but also our team to be prepared for those situations. And then also for our coaching staff to be able to know what plays we like in those situations. So he prepares us with that every day in practice with those 2 periods.
Which wide receiver throughout the year have you found that you've had the best the repertoire with? Obviously, I'm sure as you know, Antoine Grant, former co-rookie of the year in the AFL in 2019, and he's had a hell of a career. But I mean, is it that more or less
my roommate? Actually. That's my roommate.
Oh, there we go.
Antoine
Nice.
Grant is my roommate. Yep.
Is it a matter of how much does it take for you as a quarterback to get, to be able to be locked in, not necessarily with one particular guy, but obviously, I mean, yeah, if you have a favorite, you have a favorite. I'm not asking you to tell us here because we don't want to give away your secrets. But how is it about
Can't do that.
about getting that, those good vibes with all of your wide receivers?
Well, for me, some of the injury stuff has been pretty tough. My first game I had Antoine Grant starting and Rob Jones, who's also a great receiver for me, and Jordan Gandy. And now this weekend it was, DJ Thorpe, and who's a great receiver for us. And he's, a local guy that's been with the team for a couple of years. And that was his first game. He's able to dress and caught a touchdown for me. So, and then, Milton is a great receiver as well. I think I think it's just, and then also, the big get was Nye this week, and he's a great speedster for us. So, for me, there's no favorite. I'm not like, oh, I'm trying to feed this guy because he's my favorite. It's very much like, all right, let's take advantage of mismatches, and we'll take advantage of this in this situation, and I'm going to make my read for this coverage. I'm going to throw it here, So, I have confidence and faith in all of my receivers, to make that play for me, and whoever's on the field. I think if Coach Arbette and Coach Payton are putting those guys on the field, I know that they can make the play for me. And so, for me, it's not about, oh, I'm trying to feed Antoine Grant, or I'm trying to feed Rob Jones, or I'm trying to feed this guy. It's more of, okay, I have this situation, I have this coverage, and I want to attack their weakest link more than it is I need to throw to this guy, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. Because I can only imagine that what it's like being able to get chemistry with these guys. Because if you haven't played with them quite a bit in game time rather than just in practice, I mean, I'm sure as fans will know, and people who've been following football for as long as we have, practice
Yep.
is different than game time. So it's just a matter, I said, about make sure you have that chemistry with your wide receivers.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I agree with you 100%. That's something we work on every day to try and get that timing down, get the little things down. And, I think every day those guys are helping me get better. And, I really enjoy them, and I enjoy working with those guys.
So you're playing in a Arena Football legacy city of Nashville. And anybody who's followed arena football long enough that they know about the two iterations of the Cats that came around, the one that was owned by the Titans owner at one point, and then the other ownership group. But and now
Yep.
that's funny. We'll tie back to the Titans in this way too. Oh wow, I just thought about that now.
Yeah, there you go.
To talk to us about the city of Nashville and the fans there, because some may think, well, there's such a long period of time in between teams in the AF in arena football. It's not the same. But what have you noticed when it comes to the fans of Nashville?
I think the people that I've met, the games, they love it. And at the last game, it was so cool having all these little kids come up to me and, sign the little Kulkamania, pictures or whatever, which was so cool, obviously. But, just the fan engagement there is awesome. Like, the people love football and they want to come out to our games, and it's so cool. And being able to have them come out in the field and do autographs with us, and just, being able to be in that community. Like, I love Nashville. Nashville's awesome. The people are great. And hopefully we can continue to get those fans and even more to come out to our games.
I was just curious because obviously you're playing in it's an old arena itself, but I was curious to know, are there any quirks you really love about the arena that you play in?
Oh, that's tough. That I love?
Yeah, well, or hate.
You know what
or
I hate? How about what I hate? I hate that those end zones are so small.
It's right.
If you ever go play in Nashville, those end zones start rounding at about 5 yards. So that end zone, that 6 yards is, it's a 6-yard end zone. It's a really, really tight curve. And so if you notice, when we get within the 10, when we get within the 5-yard line, we don't really throw the ball that much anymore. It's a lot of running the ball because you don't have as much space, as much high-low, as much, little things here and there that you can do in the end zone, in these bigger end zones. Like when we played Albany, we felt very confident, in those 10-yard end zones to be able to say, okay, we're on the 1-yard line, but I still feel very comfortable about throwing the football here. And so I would say that's the one quirk about Nashville that I think is great for us, because I guess we're used to it for playing there. But teams that come play us, they struggle to throw in the red zone because there's not a lot of space in that end zone.
So would it make strategic sense to kick onside more often at home?
I don't know. I don't know if you want to put a team at the 10 or the 15-yard line. You know what I'm saying?
No, it's interesting.
It's more when you get inside that 5. If you give them 10, 15 yards of space, then they got something to work with.
Well, actually, okay, it's funny that that Scott asked the question, Tyler. What does Coach Tyler think he should do in that situation?
Oh man, I think I would go right with Coach Payton. He does a great job at scheming up our offense and calling those certain run plays in that situations, little bootlegs, and then little rub routes that we can do that, we do throw the ball a little bit in there. So just little stuff like that. I think I would do exactly what our OC does.
And I think even though the next game that you guys will be having will be in Clarksville, you're still going to be it's going to be a home field advantage anyways, because as far as I remember, I think last year it was still rounded end zones in Clarksville, despite I think the arena being slightly larger than the way you guys currently play in the auditorium. So, you will bring your
Mhm.
home field advantage with you to Clarksville.
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited. It's going to be a great time.
Um,
See, Clarksville, I heard last year had a really great turnout. I've seen little pictures, I've seen videos. Actually, Milton, me and Milton have become friends or whatever since he's been my receiver or whatever. And I've seen a video of him catching a touchdown at Clarksville, and I saw the fan engagement there. And man, I'm so excited to go play over there.
So I'm definitely trying to get out to that game. So I hope to be out there, see you again playing that for that one.
Yeah, let's go. It'd be good to see you, Scott.
so, I know we've taken up your time here tonight, Tyler, and we really greatly appreciate it. Obviously, it's obviously, your goal is to get you guys to not only the playoffs but to the championship game, to the Arena One championship game. But I mean, it's uh, so far. What's the biggest thing that you've taken away from yourself, whether it be personal, whether it be professional, away from this season so far?
Um, I think for me personally, it's been a lot of development. You know, the arena game is so fast. And so I think going back outside or whatever the case may be, whatever God has for my future, I think I've really developed my timing, my footwork, all of those things to be able to be successful in this league will help me for years to come. I think, from a league standpoint, seeing how the league is growing and seeing, what Jeff Fisher is doing for the league has been really, really cool. Especially, blessing having him in Nashville and being able to have conversations with him, be able to talk to him about it. Like he's just a really, really great guy. And then from a team perspective, obviously just, the relationships I've built with my teammates and stuff like that, just being able to joke and laugh with them, be able to build that with them has just been really, really cool. I've really enjoyed them for sure.
Have you had a chance to meet John Gruden yet?
No, not yet. But I know we'll see what happens. But I do know that I'm pretty sure Jeff is trying to get him out to a game. So who knows? Maybe he'll be in Clarksville. We'll see.
There we go.
Pretty cool. That'd be
Of course,
cool.
his brother's got a great history in the AFL.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, beat Kurt Warner in the Arena Bowl.
The championship in the Arena Bowl. Yep.
It's funny, Scott, how many the history that Tyler is surrounded by in Nashville. It's just absolutely crazy. From that to, again, from Fisher having ties to Kurt and stuff like that, and it's just
And Eli Gold.
it's.
I mean,
I was gonna say, and Eli Gold too. I mean,
that voice is perfect for this game.
yeah. I don't know,
Yep.
Tyler, if you knew or heard of Eli Gold prior to coming there, but obviously, Alabama fans would say, how can you not? Because him being the
Mhm.
voice of the Crimson Tide for so many years, and then for arena football all those years ago, it's you're just surrounded by by arena football history, and it's been fun to watch him, man. It really has. And obviously, we wish you nothing but the best for the rest of the season. And, it'd be nice to see you in that Arena Football Championship game.
Yeah, it'd be really cool. I think that would be a really big blessing. And, I'm so blessed in the position that I'm at. And so, really hoping for that opportunity.
Where can people find you?
Hey, come follow me on Instagram, Tyler Kulka 17, on Twitter at tkulk17. Come follow me, come follow my journey, and it's been a blast so far. I'm really excited to see what God has planned for me next.
Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it. Really look forward to seeing you. Like I said, I'll definitely see you week 14. Hopefully see you in the playoffs and maybe even the championship game. You get to be named championship game. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome.
So I think Tim's hopefully planning on making it out to that championship game as well. We're
We'll
working on it.
We'll see. We'll see. We're making it happen.
Yeah.
So again,
Well,
thank you so much. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Tyler.
Thanks for having me, guys. So grateful for the opportunity to be on with you guys. This has been a blast.
Thank you. We'll definitely be talking soon.
Yes, sir. Can't wait. I'll see you in
Definitely.
Clarksville.
All right. Take care.
See you guys.
All right. Yeah, definitely up and comer. Like,
Oh yeah, no kidding. I mean, again, it's nice to see again, and he's right too. It's like the league has improved quite a bit. Uh, being able to bring in the right quarterbacks, but having the right fits, and you know what, it maybe him having Coach Arbit was the best fit for him, and so far that's what it seems like because um, despite the issues that the team went through at the beginning, week 0, the team is currently in its current position for where they are in the playoffs, and um, as I said, it's cool to see. As I said, and obviously, if everything goes according to plan, hey, things will get better from there. So,
I had a wild idea, and I didn't run this by you ahead of time, but a wild idea, and this is not what they're doing, not even what they're considering doing, but considering the schedule is so out of whack. Some teams are playing
yeah,
13 games, some teams are playing 10. What if they only counted the last 10 games a team's played and made that their record?
it'd be interesting. I'm sure Albany would kind of disagree. Um,
I mean, Albany likely wins out at this time. At this point, they're
yeah,
likely 10-0 end of the season, so it doesn't change anything for them.
no, no, and maybe if it were to be like maybe a 1-year thing, and it's not really. Just based off what happened at the beginning of the season, Scott, it's not something that the league could really have predicted and anything like
Mm-hmm.
that. I mean, you have 2 teams that were supposed to play that did not,
Mm-hmm.
and it kind of messed up the schedule as we saw. Um,
Just
it
shower
the main
thoughts,
thing, yeah, but you know what, dude? The main thing is all games have played.
Yep.
All games have played, despite the issues that have occurred this season. With the teams dropping out. I'm sure it's not the best thing for Albany now to be 9-0 and to go on a 2-week bye before they play the next game. But
Yeah.
it's, think things are going to happen. Things are going to happen. There's nothing we can do about it. So I mean, it is what it is.
I
What
was
was the
trying to
first question?
I was trying to get
Um,
Charles up there, and then Brian jumped in here. But yeah, where's the
oh,
championship getting held at?
it's high. We've been Brian. It's highest seed. It's
Mm-hmm.
gonna be highest seed right now. The current play, unless something changes. The Arena One Championship goes through Albany.
So
So,
yeah, if somebody, I mean, no, somebody beats Albany in the first round,
mhm.
who knows where it goes? That, or if I don't know, Amazon comes in and says, "Hey, we'll pay for everything, but we want the game played in Louisville." Okay, as long as they're paying
Yeah.
enough, the league's going to do it. But
But
but that's highly
you know what?
unlikely at
But
this point.
I know, and you say that, I know you kid, but as a good, if you're to be one of the guys in the head office and be a good businessman, do you really want to, you know, give Vice the finger like that? I wouldn't,
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, because it seemed to be such a great relationship, considering that it's a first year league and they have a national television contract. It's something that others in indoor football have not been able to do, despite having just a few games, maybe on CBS Sports Network. This has been a weekly thing where it's been on unlike last year and the whole debacle last year with the AFL. It's been all week, all year,
Mm-hmm.
and
Well,
the people are watching the games on Vice. They're watching the games.
and in that Discord that I mentioned earlier, somebody shared a picture. They were at Buffalo Wild Wings, and there's the AF1 on the TV
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Buffalo Wild Wings on Vice. I mean, no other league can say that this year. Not without
Yeah, I know.
purposely making an active point to, hey, I've got this subscription, put me up on this TV,
Mhm.
or hey, can you make that TV use YouTube? No one else can say that. They were just randomly on a live at a Buffalo Wild Wings one
I
day.
know,
know?
and I wouldn't think unless you actually knew about Vice or knew the schedule that was coming up. I agree with you. I agree. It would have been even funnier if it was Evergreen.
Right?
I mean, but it was still, it was still Vice. Can't complain.
Yeah, it's still there. It's still on,
Yeah.
broadcast services.
Yeah.
So
So we'll see,
yeah.
we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. And again, things can change next year. The partnership may expand from there. Who knows? Who knows? But we do know
It
it's a
depends on
very
how many
unique
teams there are in the league too.
True, and it's a very unique relationship with Vice too, and it's not your typical uh, television contract that arena football has had in the past. So
Mhm.
it is there is a still there still is a little bit more of a I'll call it a rights thing in a way, but it's not your typical contract. But um, before we get to the games themselves, Scott, I know there was some interesting stuff that flew basically in the arena football sphere this week, and it just had really the biggest thing that came out was yesterday.
Mhm.
And it's very interesting to see. Everybody, if you go back a couple of weeks, everybody knows is seeing how Outlaws owner Steve Titus is feeling about how he feels about what's happening in Billings when it comes to the arena, et cetera, et cetera. And his it wasn't a threat. I'll call it amusing of potentially moving the franchise. Well, on social media just a couple of days ago, they went ahead and all of a sudden the league, the team changed their logo on all their socials,
Mhm.
and it switched from Billings Outlaws to Outlaws Football,
Mhm.
taking the name of Billings out of the equation, so to speak, when it comes to their logo. What were your first thoughts when you saw that thing pop up?
If we hadn't had our conversation here with Steve, I'd be floored. you know? But after talking to him, kind of hearing what all's going on, it's not a fan thing. It's not even a city thing. We know he would love to stay there. He made that real clear. He would love to stay there if things are working out better. But and it's not even just the fans. It's the city. It's the arena. It's the state that they're getting no support. And then again, I don't mean that from a fan aspect. I mean from everyone else involved.
Mhm.
Salina got a chunk of cash from the city this year to help keep them, help support them. He's getting nothing. He can't get a multi-year deal to help his rates. He wanted to sign a multi-year deal with the arena, and the arena said no.
Yeah.
I mean, what's he supposed to do at that point? Let him raise the rates again, and not get a cut of anything. And yeah, again,
Well,
I get it.
yeah, and being a small town market, it makes you wonder because obviously I'm curious to know because I haven't really we've only seen bits and pieces of how some fans are feeling about the change itself. Are they do they feel slighted by the change, et cetera, or what Steve has said? Um, I mean, maybe itself, if you think about it, maybe the change is kind of a way of getting themselves in the news because we've seen even
Mhm.
wackier things, Scott, that teams have done in order to get themselves on the news and to drum up support.
Mhm.
Um, I mean, is this something that do you think that's a possibility that Steve has said, let's do something that doesn't necessarily piss off the fan base, but let's try to get ourselves in the news a little bit more, and to be able to, if the news does pick it up, which I'm sure they I'm sure they will in Billings,
Mhm.
um, try to get our point across again about whose team this actually is.
Well, yeah, I mean, light a fire. It's without directly calling out anyone in particular. He called out
Mm,
everybody by doing this. Um, and we know he's not shy. He's not going to mix words. He's going to tell you how he thinks and feels. He's,
yeah.
been that way for the last two seasons, and then greatly appreciated that he's been that way the last two seasons.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, hopefully it does light a fire. It lights a fire under somebody to try to keep them. Maybe it's if you know what if you're a fan of the Billings Outlaws and you're listening to this right now, call the arena. Let them know, hey, we want this team in the future. Don't lose them. Call the city council members. Hey, help this team out. This is the only professional team in the state of Montana. We really don't want to lose this team. Let the people that know that has some influence call them up. The worst thing you're gonna do is say no and laugh at you. Okay, you hang up the phone, you're done. But if
Mm,
you really care about this team, make it a point for you to try to do your part to save the team. And then that is more than just showing up on game day in this situation. It's making your opinion known.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously, if you haven't even thought about it, I mean, we just saw that the tickets for the game this week are going to be $10.
Mm-hmm.
$10 for an arena game? Hello.
Yeah, it's a
You know,
best thing you get
and whether it was
out
a vice mandated thing or if it was an ask by the team, we haven't gotten confirmation yet. But I'm wondering if that slight change of 2 hours, pushing up the game to 4 local
Mhm.
is going to help draw more people in on a Sunday afternoon rather than a Sunday afternoon rather than a Sunday evening.
The one good thing is school should be out at this point, so you're not having to rush home, get the kids in bed because you got school Monday morning.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one good thing about being able to do this. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not going to hurt. Actually, their game's a Monday. Is their game Monday? No, it is a Sunday game. Next week's a Monday game for them.
Yeah.
But either way, school's out, so hopefully that'll help too. Like I say, not worried about keeping kids out late on a school night. I mean, anything they can do. I mean, it's the city. I know the fans there love their team. The amount of Billings fans that showed up in New Jersey last year, it was incredible. I was blown away by how much support they had at that game. They're good. They're good fans. I know they love their team, but ticket sales are only one small component of making a team survive.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah. And again, and they're still in the playoffs. They're in a playoff hunt. Despite their record, they are still in the playoff hunt. Okay, I think if they can win out, they should be in the playoffs.
It should be.
Which is I would say a good segue, but we need to get to the scores first for last week before we talk about that. So let's do just that.
Let's do that. We're just talking about Tyler.
Yep. Second time this year that Nashville has beaten Oregon at home. Both of the games were really close, except the score is kind of misleading in this one. When the Lightning only score, I think they're held scoreless, I think, in the third quarter, and don't score again until maybe just close to a minute left in the game itself. Game was close. Lightning was up at one point, but the Nashville defense stood up and basically almost shut Oregon out for the second half, and Nashville gets the win.
And our bet's not that type to put that foot down on the throat and put 100 up against team. He's just not that type of coach.
No. But it was close. It was close at halftime, man. I mean, Oregon was up.
Yeah.
So.
Oregon's greatly improving. I don't think they're quite ready yet, but they're definitely a better team than they were at the beginning of the season for sure.
Yeah. Tyler threw for 5 touchdowns. He had 187 yards. It's not the most, really, when it comes to receiving yards itself, but still, 5 touchdowns in the game. And then looking at the stats here, it was Jackson that had the most yards at 87. 3 receptions, 87 yards, 2 touchdowns. So.
And 50 points is respectable. That's a good. The 50 to 36 is just a good arena score.
Yeah. Some getting to 50, I think, has really been what needed, other than Albany. Mm-hmm. Getting to 50 really has been. It shows. I think it can really show how good or bad a team actually is, because we had some teams early in the season that really couldn't score. I think the problem is right now, and this happened quite a bit, I think, we've seen it happen before in other years past in arena football, is that some of these teams just go absolutely dead in the third. And you can't do that coming out of halftime, because even if you're in a close game, you just can't go scoreless or only score 6 points in the third quarter, because I'm sure that'll easily make or break you.
So do you think that's the winning teams making adjustments on defense in the second half? What do you think is the cause of that?
In my opinion, I think it really is that, and we've seen this quite a bit this year, that I think a lot of these teams are playing beyond their means, and then they come down to earth, and then for whatever reason, they they revert back to whatever they were doing before, and they just play bad football. And I think that's what happened. That's happened quite a few times this year.
I mean, that's
It's
what
just that,
ultimately happened in Nashville and Albany.
yeah,
Just that third
exactly.
quarter, they just weren't there all of a sudden.
Yeah. So it can be any, it could be any type of reasoning for it. But obviously the coaches will say it's, wasn't the travel, wasn't this, wasn't that, etc. I mean, it's the little things, but it's something that, we've had games this year where teams have been basically back and forth, back and forth. That Salina Albany game was absolutely amazing.
Mhm.
That was the type of game that you want to see. But in this case, it's just, I think it's more times than not this year. That's what's happened. And usually, if you come away with one touchdown in the third, you know,
You're in trouble.
especially after scoring quite a few, I think you're in trouble.
Just got a comment in here from a Billings fan. It's tough to get Metro Park dates between rodeo, high school, sports graduation, everything else. And yeah, it just, that's where somebody needs to make something a priority. And if this
6
game's not a
weeks.
priority,
6 weeks. That's what it took for Billings to get their first home game. 6 weeks.
and that's just it. If they're not going to make this game, which again is the only professional sport in the state, if they're not going to make it a priority, they run the risk of losing.
Yeah, they don't have minor league baseball anymore, do they?
Yeah, that's a good question.
I thought they had the Billings Mustangs at one point. But somebody in chat, please correct me if I'm wrong. I thought there was a pro baseball team in Montana. I thought there were. I thought there were a couple actually. Anyways,
But
yeah. So with Nashville's win, they're above 500 if I'm not mistaken, and they really are in the hunt for a playoff spot.
no, definitely. And like so, they're in the hunt for that number 2 seed even. So,
And Oregon's on the cusp. Oregon's on the cusp, but I don't think they're heading in the right direction.
Yeah, right.
Especially
now
with their upcoming schedule.
Yes. So, well, yeah, and then we'll touch a little bit on that here, I think, at the end. But yeah, Oregon's sitting in the 5th seed right now, just out of the playoff bubble, with Salina and Billings on their tail. So that's a rough go for sure.
Exactly.
Speaking of,
yeah,
not what I expected.
No, but you know what? The Rakeem Cato effect, really. Their quarterback played outstanding.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately for Billings, when you have a quarterback that throws for 4 interceptions, but the score is misleading.
Very. This game is not that close.
Very misleading.
Billings was just not in this game at all. I mean, from the very beginning. So I didn't expect. I personally had Billings as the winner, but I definitely didn't expect that lopsided of a game. I expected it to at least be close. I don't know what I expect out of Billings from this point on. Like, they play like this. Thankfully, they've got a favorable schedule.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, I think they're going to be on the outside looking in when it comes down to this game. I think was crucial for the postseason.
I think you were talking about this off air. I think they need to win out. Billings needs now, because we had talked about it before, potentially one loss could get them into the playoffs still. Billings needs to win out.
The thing is, even if they win out, I don't know that
they still need help.
Yeah, they still need help.
That's the thing.
Because
I mean, it's not like Malik Henry had. I mean, 4 interceptions will do it for you, but he still threw for 234 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
They had a kickoff return for a touchdown, but then again, if I'm not mistaken, so did Salina.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Billings is I think it's Oregon twice, and then is it Oregon? Yeah, I think it's Oregon twice, and then Nashville. If they win all those games, the best they can hope for is 500 ball, which should get them in.
It might get them in. It just be on the cusp. Rakeem Cato, 15 to 26, 292 yards. Those are typical arena football numbers. Five touchdowns.
The thing is if Salina wins out, and granted Salina's got a much tougher schedule, they've only got I think 3 games left as well, but two of those are against Dodge City, Southwest Kansas. If Salina wins out because of the unequal number of games, they'll be a half game ahead of Billings.
Yep. They'd
be 6-5 as opposed to 6-6.
That series between those two teams is going to be must watch TV.
Oh yeah,
especially when it comes to the playoffs, and considering how well Salina currently is playing, can you imagine if they had Rakeem the entire year?
Oh yeah, he would have been incredible to have on that team. But yeah, a home and home series to end the season for Salina and for the Liberty and the Storm.
Yeah,
man, that's gonna be good.
It'll decide the 4 seed. It honestly, yes. That and whatever Billings does. If Billings wins out, again, it's tough considering it's not like Billings has an easy schedule either. They do have one game that really could go either way. So we'll see.
And Southwest Kansas locked themselves in a playoff spot this week, which let's go ahead and bump over to that game. In a dominating fashion, they got themselves a playoff spot.
See, I'm sure this is frustrating. I don't know how the league brass feels about this because, again, this was another Vice game, another blowout on Vice.
It wasn't pretty.
I mean,
I expect more out of Washington at this point.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, this is a second-year team. Granted, it's all first year, but it's a second-year team. It's the same coach. He's had a chance to learn the game. He knows what's expected in this league. They played like replacement players. One, they've got to get a kicker. I appreciate the experiment, but they've got to get a kicker, a legitimate kicker.
There's only so many times that you can do drop kicks, which aren't really going for a field goal. We know they're punts.
It's essentially a punt. And some of them are questionable about whether they were even drop kicks.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, especially in the first one. I was like, did that actually touch the ground?
Yeah, that was, that's Charles is asking about how do you feel about the punting in Washington?
It's punting. And I'm curious to know if we could get into the ear of Jerry Kurz, if we can get into the ear of Gary Compton. Curious to know what their thoughts are on this because as we have seen, and I know this is kind of another story which we'll talk about, but for a league that is willing to make modifications to the rule set, and we're not talking XFL 1.0 changes to the rule set. If they made so many changes to change their game, it was crazy. It was just to make changes. These changes, the league is honestly making changes that are better for the league itself and for more protection. But maybe this is something that I would hope that they're talking about because I would hope, just what is funny, Scott, is that considering how good it's shown, how good if you get the right kicker, how much it can improve your game and your team.
Well, and just the entertainment value.
Yeah, and it's like Washington hasn't given a rip when it comes to this. Maybe things do need to be modified. You know what I mean? The only thing that I could suggest is this. Right away that they're not going for a field goal. You know it. Especially when you're kicking where you're kicking from. Maybe there needs to be a modification when it comes to this, when it comes to something with drop kicks. I don't know.
Or any field goal attempt that doesn't make it to the end zone should be a massive penalty. Any unblocked field goal attempt had to be unblocked.
Something.
It's just ugly. It doesn't follow the spirit of the rule in this game.
I agree. Oh, 100%. 100%. It's not like Nell. Nell was in Albany versus Corpus. He was, he was dropping. Well, he was kicking deuces. He was kicking deuces, and and trying extra points and stuff like that too. He was doing the rule. It was perfect for the rule.
Well,
This-
and doing
no,
field goals
this
as
no.
punts is not. That's not out of the question in this league. But it was always off the
You know what?
nets.
Agreed. What's funny is this, this 7 points tying the league low for points by a team in a single game. This game was more embarrassing, in my opinion, than Billings only scoring 7 points. Billings played a bad game that game versus Albany. This 7 points is an embarrassment. I'm sure it was for Billings too, but if you were to rank these two games of only scoring 7 points, this one, this one's 11 out of 10.
Honestly,
the top 10.
This is worse for me than the 100 to 12. I mean, at least this was a full team.
Can you imagine what's going to happen in 2 weeks? 3 weeks. Can you imagine what's going to happen in 3 weeks when they play Albany?
Mm-hmm. It's going to be
I mean,
a bloodbath.
Yeah. So, make my eyes bleed. But yeah, as you said, Southwest Kansas with this win did clinch a playoff spot. So we now have 2 teams that are currently the number 1 and 2 seed. I think they're both clinched. Albany's clinched a home playoff. I don't think Southwest Kansas has yet clinched a home
Kansas,
playoff.
I believe, could theoretically fall to 4th.
Yeah.
Are they going to? Probably not. But
yeah,
they theoretically could fall to 4th. You mentioned them.
So
Albany.
And speaking of, and we're talking about this before, Corpus Christi has gone through some, got issues for sure, and that's being very generous in my wording. This, Albany did still dominate, but Corpus Christi
showed up.
Yeah. I was trying to give it another word besides.
Well, I mean, they showed up. Washington didn't show up, so
no. I mean, Corpus Christi did score 13 points in the first, and I think, and what's funny is that at the time they weren't Corpus Christi, they were the Albany Empire Corpus Christi Tritons.
That was. Yeah, something.
Did we ever find out what? So I think the story is that it was a lot. It literally was. The luggage was lost. So, but I heard it twice, and it wasn't just hearing something. I heard something happened coming into Albany.
Just didn't arrive.
It just didn't arrive. And you and I have been around long enough. We know we got a lot of people in the chat here too. Is this a first? Is this an arena football first? A team playing in 2 different uniforms?
It's got to be, right? Like
in one game. Can you
can't imagine happening before.
No, can you imagine what halftime was like? Because it is not easy, I'm sure, getting these pads off of these jerseys.
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine what it was like.
They got 15 minutes to get all their jerseys handed out to them, get everybody changed, get everybody all their right stuff, and get back out on that field.
And pants.
I mean, yeah, no wonder they couldn't keep playing that well. They spent their whole halftime getting dressed. But I feel for Corpus.
Maybe they would have scored more points if they had stayed in the Empire uniforms, because we know those Empire teams could score galore.
Right. Well, I just feel for that team though. Like they kind of been through hell and back this year.
Mm-hmm.
But you got to think too, the last time these teams met, it was 100 to 12.
Yeah.
This is competitive.
Well, I mean, look at the quarterback situation. I mean, Fred Payton for Corpus, 23 of 40, 4 touchdowns, but he did throw 3 picks.
It's not a horrible day.
No, and Sam Casanova. I don't know. It's going to be tough not to name him the future MVP of this season.
Mm-hmm.
4 incompletions, Scott.
That's
4.
wild.
22 of 26, 276 yards and 7 touchdowns.
Well, and Corpus too. It's not replacement players. It is a replacement team. They
True.
totally had to rebuild their entire roster mid-season. And no offense to the guys on this roster, but if you're building a team mid-season, you're not getting the best of the best to show up.
No.
You're getting who's left at that point.
Right.
Every league is up and running, so everybody's got their rosters full.
Yeah. And most valuable offensive player, or whatever the league's going to call it, unless I guess he could be in the hunt for the MVP nod, but Dwayne Brown, 113 yards on 8 receptions and 3 more touchdowns. So, I mean, does anybody out there think that does Dwayne Brown, does Dwayne deserve to be in the chat for MVP? Or is it all because of Castronova?
Is it because
We
of
saw what he did.
Castronova?
We saw what Dwayne did
Probably.
last year in Billings.
Right. And problem is any other team, that's an MVP. But when you're not the MVP on your own team, I don't know how you can be the MVP of the league.
Yeah.
Phenomenal numbers, but he's having a hell of a season. It reminds me of the 89 Oakland Athletics. You had Dave Stewart winning like 21 games and didn't win the Cy Young because he had a guy on his team that won 27 games that year. So, like, both phenomenal performances. But when that one is on your own team is just that much better, it's kind of hard to compete.
I think both these guys will be all AF1. There's no doubt
Hands
that they'll
down.
be all stars. But I'm curious to see when it comes to the voting, what will the media determine? Who will they choose? Who will the league choose? I mean, I don't see how Castronova can't win.
I mean, you go undefeated.
Yeah, I know. And potentially doing something that has never been done in arena football history. And yes, I have already been corrected. What about the AF2 Steam Wheelers? People need to remember they still cheated. So I'm disqualifying them.
They vacated the title.
They should have done something. They should have done something with that, because they were banned from the playoffs for a year or two, whatever it was, after it came out. So I'm really, it would be the first time really. So many teams in arena football history have tried to go for it.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago Bruisers tried it, didn't get it. Tampa Bay, I think, has done it. Orlando tried to do it, hasn't happened. Hasn't happened.
Go down
San Jose,
Mm-hmm.
didn't happen.
Dallas.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There have been many one-loss teams in arena football history. This could be for the very first time. You have a team with zero losses at the end of the regular season.
I honestly don't see how it won't be. Like
No.
you said, they only have one game left, and it's
And we know
Washington.
who's against. I know.
So, yeah, I mean, if they don't go 10-0, I'm going to be absolutely floored. So, but
Yeah,
no,
I will admit during the last Flock U, I did ask. I posed the question to Coach Ware. You know what I mean? And it was a good answer. If anybody didn't watch last week's episode, head over to their YouTube or Facebook page and watch last week's episode of Flock U. Coach, there are many. This Albany team is going to dominate in many ways when it comes to postseason awards.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how Coach Ware does not get Coach of the Year.
Again, you don't go undefeated and not walk away with a bunch of them.
No, we'll see. We'll see what will be determined as the postseason awards. I know the league will be announcing that whenever.
The
It's
sad
like
thing
when we-
is it's going to overshadow some phenomenal performances by guys that weren't on undefeated teams.
Yeah, but sometimes being dominant, I know, can be a blessing and can be a curse. I think, with all honesty, Scott, that it may come down to the accolades for the All AF1 teams.
Mhm.
With all honesty, because from there you can have a sample size of everybody in the league. It may be dominated by the players for Albany, but you will get the best of the best who are going to be all-stars.
Right.
So, but I think that was last game of the week, right?
Yep, that was the last game of the week.
So Scott has okay. Let's go to the playoff.
Yep.
Yeah, I like how you did this here. It makes a lot more sense. So
I've got that other one pulled up too.
Yeah, and your other one has clinch spelled properly.
My bad. That's what I get for trying to be prepared, huh?
That's okay. That's okay. Somebody clip it. So Albany 9-0, heading into 2 bye weeks.
Mhm.
2 bye weeks. Coach Ware's already stated that the team is going to get 1 week off completely, and then they're going to go back to work for week 2, leading up to their next game. That's going to be tough. Southwest Kansas Storm, being at 7-3, has clinched a playoff spot. Talked about with the win for Nashville, they're now 4-3. Corpus Christi, the 3-4. Yes, looks like there should be an asterisk by this. Oregon,
they're not winning any more games.
No,
let's just put it out there.
Or it can be tough for Oregon too. Salina is probably the next team to potentially jump to the 4 spot. But with all honesty, in my opinion, the 4 spot, the last playoff spot, will come down between Salina and Billings, and obviously, it'll come down to that big matchup between Salina and Southwest Kansas,
which will also possibly determine the 2 seed. Who's getting that other
Mhm.
home playoff game?
Mhm.
Salina goes on a tear and beats up on the Storm for 2 weeks in a row. Now all of a sudden Nashville has a chance to jump up there and make some things happen, especially if they pull off the win over Billings.
Yeah.
Because
Charles,
Nashville is.
what happened where? Charles, which story? I know we've been talking about a lot tonight. I want to make sure we answer your question. Because I don't remember what he's. I know we talked about a couple of things. I don't remember what he's referencing.
Pull up that other kind of probability.
So explain it. So explain this for everybody, Scott, because I find this is very unique what you've done here. But go ahead, try to explain this. Explain this to everybody.
So basically, the first setup here, week 11. That's where we are right now. That's where the standings are. That's also how this is currently sorted, is by current win-loss record. The next setup, best possible record, is if that team wins all the rest of their game, this is the best possible record that team could end up with. Oh, the AF2 cheating team is what Charles is asking about. The Quad City.
Oh, okay.
And then the last setup here is the worst possible record. So if they lose all the rest of the game, what's the worst possible record this team ends up with? And this is how you see, okay, Southwest Kansas is clinched because there aren't 4 teams that can beat a 583 winning percentage. Which it's not always that straightforward. Washington is showing that Washington still potentially could get the 4th seed. The reality is those teams play each other. There's no way all the teams above them have the worst possible record because someone's going to win something. So mathematically, they're still in it, but Washington is, for the most part, eliminated based on someone has to win.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it'll probably be official this week, but for the most part, Washington is eliminated because someone else is going to win a game. That's what it comes down to. But with the imbalance of schedules, we kind of talked about this earlier. Some teams playing 10, Oregon playing 13 games. It just creates a wild list of possibilities at this point. My personal predictions, I see Salina getting that 4th seed over Billings by half a game. It's going to come down to the
which is
one
how
game
you're
they
seeing it
play.
right here. Again, that's why that Southwest Kansas and Salina matchup, the end of the season, is going to be huge.
Mm-hmm. And the way I look at it is, I just called it. They split it. Each team wins at
if you
home.
think about it, Salina ends up at 5-6. Billings could get in by half a game.
I don't think so. There's something with the way the math works out.
Well, 5-7 versus 6-6. Billings that's a better winning percentage.
Yeah, there's. I got to remember how it played out. There's something with that there's a possibility Billings is far from eliminated, but they need a lot of help.
Right. Yeah, I know. They need to win out. They need to win out either way. That's the next thing.
And the best they can do is 500.
Yeah, real quickly for Charles, for the AF2 cheating team, it was the Quad Cities Steamwheelers, first and second year in AF2, so 2000, 2001. They went undefeated in 2000. It was found out in 2003 that head coach Frank Hagee, and I guess more or less, we can say also Arena Football founder Jim Foster, because he was the owner of the team, basically skirted the salary cap and had as many good players, I guess, as they could pay. And that's why they lost one game over 2 seasons and won the 2 championships. So they were banned from the 2003 playoffs, even though at that time Frank Hagee was not their head coach. It was Rich Ingold, another AFL legend, another Arena Football legend. So that's, to me, championships weren't taken away. Even I think just recently they celebrated the 25th anniversary or whatever it was of the championship. It's not like not like what they do in the NCAA where they take away wins.
Big asterisk.
It was a slap on the wrist, and this should be an asterisk.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I say that if Albany goes undefeated, they're the first Arena Football team to do it.
If they were to put asterisk on every team that overpaid, they'd all have them.
but there's a huge difference. This type of football now versus AF2 back then is different because there is a minimum, but teams can play you can get a player for a good. I mean, come on, Sam Castronova is not being paid the minimum,
right? But there's also no maximum currently.
Nor is Darius Prince. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So back then there was a very strict pay scale. It was you pay everyone
and
X.
This isn't the day. Yeah, this isn't the days of 6-figure salaries before the league folded, before AFL folded in 2008 at the end of the 2008 season.
Come play for the SaberCats. Get yourself a 65-inch TV. So yeah,
the players were paid. They were paid 6 figures. Things were different. 2012 was slightly different too, because that technically was under the kind of the AF2 structure, but it was.
It gets hairy. It gets hairy.
Yeah, I mean, people could say that also about Arizona back in the days, bringing in the big name player just for the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it happened. San Jose did it too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Spokane. I mean, they all pretty much. If you name a championship team, there are some guys making a little extra somewhere.
I'm sure it is. It's a unique form of bookkeeping.
There we go. Those tall tables they have that things just slip under.
Something. Oh, crap, my hand is continuously hitting the floor here for this player. Oh, it's still growing. Still going. Before we talk about the rule change,
Mhm.
and I wish the league would have put out a statement, but they really didn't. They did, but they didn't. This week's schedule is as follows. Washington plays at Salina on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern.
That's gonna be ugly. The way Slime is
This
playing.
line, I know we've not seen lines yet. It's only Tuesday, but I would not be surprised if this line is 20 points. I will say it right now. 20 points.
That'd be the highest
Nashville
of the year.
Corpus. I think so. I think we had some 18s 2 weeks ago,
Yeah.
or
Yeah, I
just
remember the
this past week.
18s.
I think yeah. Nashville Corpus on Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern. Nashville needs to continue to win. Corpus Christi, we'll see what happens. This game, I'll probably put Nashville. You know what? I'll be modest with this one, considering that Corpus it's funny to say this, is a lot better team than Washington is. I'll say Nashville is a -10. I'll put them at a -10.
I was thinking 9.5. Yeah.
Yeah. Oregon Billings. Jekyll and Hyde, Oregon versus Jekyll and Hyde Billings. Billings is at home. Let's see what type of fan support comes out for this game. I still think Billings wins this game. I really do. I don't see how Oregon can pull this one off. I really don't. And besides, this is a game that Billings does need. If they don't win, they're gone. They're done. They're
Oh yeah,
done.
they're done. Hard done.
Done. Game has been changed, by the way. It was originally scheduled for 8 p.m. as this is the Vice game, 8 p.m. Eastern. It has been changed to 6 p.m. Eastern. Game is still on Vice. And I think that'll help crowd.
For sure.
Well, I'll have to reach out to Steve Titus and see what was the reasoning behind that, whether that was the team or whether it was the Vice or was a combination of things. But I'm curious to see. So,
don't expect a lot of close games this week, though.
Billings, you know what? With all honesty, dude, I'd probably put this one this is probably the lowest. If I were to put a line on this one, I'd probably put it at I'll give Billings at a -8.
Okay. You're right where I was thinking. I was thinking 7.5. So
yeah.
Yeah, it'll be closer because Oregon is getting better. Without a doubt, Oregon is definitely getting better.
Yeah. Brian, 10-6 and Baton Rouge not making it. How about the New York Dragons team that won the Eastern Division and didn't make the playoffs at all either?
Yeah.
So that's not making the playoffs. This is winning the division. Not making the playoffs.
That's brutal. That's a lot of work to not get anywhere, though. 10-6.
I don't. That was one of the weird years where I don't. Winning a division does not equate you getting into the playoffs. It was based off of best records, and they just fell below, if I remember correctly.
And if you notice on the league schedule, the division is now switched to all AF1,
which it should be.
Yeah,
which it should be.
Just one league, one conference.
Yeah,
keep it simple.
Yeah. So the rule change.
Yes,
we didn't find out about this until it was actually announced on, was it the Vice game or was it it was announced on
Nashville game.
It was on the Nashville game. And I did speak with league spokesman Adam Peltier, and he did mention that it was put out to all teams, all broadcasts to make to make it known. So it was, I don't know at what point, but I do know it was supposed to be put on every broadcast. As if you follow the NFL enough, you know that for some reason the NFL owners, just by 2 votes, allowed the tush push to continue in the NFL in 2025. For some reason, I think it was safety. I'm trying to remember what they said, but I really wish the league would have put out a statement.
Mhm.
Is that for safety? I think it was because it really was safety issues and stuff like that that they themselves banned summarily the tush push.
But I thought they had a
In
good
AF1.
solution for it. I like what they came up with as an alternative. You know, if you take him the shotgun, you take the ball from further back, all right, you're good to go. But right up under
And there's-
center,
Yeah. There's so many other plays too that could be done in that case, which we've seen in the past. Come one of the guys off, coming off the waggle, snap the balls or snap it directly to him. DP did it
Well-
many a time in Albany when he was playing for the Empire.
well, and that happened this week. In fact, that was actually, I think, the last highlight the league shared was a big man getting the ball
Yeah.
in motion.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not? That's way more entertaining than just a pile in the middle of the field.
Yeah.
So,
No, Brian. No, I hate the tush push. I hate the tush push. I think it's cheap. I think
I
it's
don't-
cheap. But I
I
understand.
don't mind it for the
You gotta
NFL.
Stop it. You gotta
Yeah.
stop it.
Well, I don't mind it for the NFL because NFL, it's not as restrictive. When you can't stunt, you can't twist, you can't block holes the same way you do in the NFL in this league.
They don't use it in the CFL.
Yeah.
You have your third string quarterback on short yardage is able to
That's-
go through.
That's because you guys all have like 1st and 35 and some crazy thing.
I was about to say, ask Adrian McPherson. There's a name I'm pulling out of the hat.
Mhm.
Adrian McPherson, when he was not only how he did it in the AFL, when he set the quarterback record the year, I think it was just arena football record for most rushing touchdowns by a quarterback when he was with Tampa. And then when he played with Montreal. I don't think the tush push is used at all
Mhm.
because they're using a different type of thing there. Just recently they're using where more or less the fullback, Scott. They've switched now to being your third string quarterback doing short yardage. They're bringing in a big bruiser like your fullback,
Mhm.
and it's very successful. I think a couple of other teams this year are switching over to using the fullback in short yardage situations.
Well, the fullback's pretty much a dead position in the NFL. There really are no true fullbacks anymore.
Sorry, tight end. I'll
It's the
equate
same thing at
fullback-
that point.
I know, but I'll equate the fullback in the CFL to the tight end in the NFL. Yeah. Okay, here we go. I think there we go. So they did put that. Okay, okay, I didn't see it.
So, and again, it makes sense because of the restrictions on the offensive line play in this league. They said you can't stunt, you can't twist, you can't have your linemen cross over each other. So you have gaps. You always have gaps in this league. So I get it in this league. The NFL, I don't mind it in the NFL. You got big boys that can do whatever they want to do on that line. Stop them. You can have all your linebackers come up there and fill that gap if you want. You can't do that in this league. So I get it. Like I said, it's with the restrictions on the other players, it makes sense to stop that play here because you ultimately can't. It's impossible to stop the tush push in the AFL. Right?
No, I know. Well, that's why Philadelphia keeps using it.
Yeah, but the NFL, there are ways to stop it in the NFL. There's really no efficient way to stop it in the AF1.
No, there really isn't. Not with. It doesn't matter how heavy your O line is or your D line is.
Mm-hmm. Well, your jack linebacker can't get up there and plug that hole. And again, your receivers or your linemen can't cross each other to block that hole. It's man on, and that's just
Use the waggle to your advantage. Again, it's just using the rule sets to your advantage.
And there
are ways to do it.
Yeah, get that defensive lineman out there to run the ball for you. Those guys are big and athletic. They can make that happen.
Yeah.
Derek Ross, look what he was able to do in any yardage.
Bob McMillan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's guys out there that have played this game that have done short yardage without any problem. I don't hate it. Like I said, I don't hate the rule change. I'm curious why now. That's my question.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you on that one.
Like,
I mean, I'm all for making the game better. I have no problem with making in season rule changes as long as it's not just to you know uh, just to change it, just to change it. You know,
I
making a
mean,
rule just to change it.
last year changing from Iron Man to free substitution, that hurt teams.
Yeah.
You know, especially a team like Albany who actually prepared for Iron Man football.
Yeah,
No.
yeah. Coach Ware said that quite a bit a few times.
Mm-hmm. And,
And if anybody remembers last year, Coach Coke in Nashville, when they came to play in Albany, he wanted to play,
mhm.
non-Iron Man rules.
You can't just
I was like,
do
what?
that.
No,
You can't just choose to do
no,
that.
no.
So
But I'm curious to know. I agree. I'm curious to know the thought process
mhm.
of how this got brought up. Who brought it up? Was there a complaint by any particular teams, or did say for or did Gary Compton see this and say, you know what,
I
the
kind of
and what was the catalyst?
mhm. Yeah, I kind of feel it could have waited, especially this late in the season. It could have waited for next. But again,
I didn't
I
think it
don't
was
hate
much of
it.
a problem. I
Mhm.
didn't think the tush push in AF1 was that much of a problem.
Mhm. But again, I like what they did with the rule. I
Yes,
think is a good implementation for sure.
100%.
What
100%.
what rules would you like to see change next year? So there was a
Well,
tweet or a comment out there. I think
my first comment to you is you're
Mhm.
okay with changing rules in the game? Just as long as it's an improvement to the game, not just to change a rule to increase scoring or this, that, and the other. You know what I mean? You're okay with it? I'm
Uh,
okay with it.
yeah, I am. As long as it's not drastic, as long as it's not fundamentally changing. Like I said, last year when they switched from Iron Man to free substitution,
Yeah,
that was drastic.
no. Yeah.
But the coaches that were coaching last year didn't understand the Iron Man game,
No,
and that was I
no.
get why they did it, but man, that's a major fundamental change that changes how you recruit, how you pick up the guys that you pick up.
Yeah.
That I don't
Um,
like, but this kind of stuff, yeah, it's not going to ultimately make a difference.
so if I were to change rule, by the way, I don't know if anybody
Mhm.
saw it. And it's not. I think it's just part of gameplay itself. I know I mentioned it before. I've been mocked actually. Jokingly, I've been mocked about it. Dean Faithful put something out on Twitter. I think it was last week, where he's doing his own K balls. He's getting balls ready as if they were K balls. They're not being implemented in the league. And I asked him about it. I said, "Are there K balls now?" He goes, "No." I said, "I'm just getting them ready. If it's necessary." Um,
Now,
that's
can
so
he do that on
conditionally,
the
but
road when they're playing with the other team's balls? Is he allowed to do that?
well, that goes to the point of having a K ball ready.
Mm-hmm.
I really think for consistency in kicking, which as we've seen this year it's made a hell of a difference for a lot of teams. I'll now say 7.5 teams. I've gotten it right. I think just for consistency's sake,
I
when it
wouldn't go
comes to the game ball.
7.5.
Okay, 6.5. Because as we saw and give a good example last year, switching from those horrible composite uh, Wilson balls
Mhm.
to the other legitimate Wilson balls, it made a huge difference in the kicking game. I think the K ball. I think K balls need to be used. I think K balls need to be used. I think it's just for consistency. But if I were to change a rule, boy, I knew there was something because you were saying you saying there was something on social where somebody posted something.
Yeah, I think it was Steve Titus talking about what do they need to do make the game. I could be wrong, but may not have been him. But to make the game
It
more
might be.
attractive, and I think he even possibly suggested bringing back the 3 and 4 point conversions.
No,
No.
no, no.
So the one I brought up earlier.
Some UFL rules do not need to be in AF1. I'm sorry.
Well, the one I brought up earlier and hadn't thought of until that moment was field goals.
Mhm.
Unblocked,
Yeah,
you need to reach the end zone.
There need to be some change. Yeah, there needs to be. I agree. I think based on what's happening in Washington, I think there just needs to be some slight rule modifications for kicking.
Mhm.
I agree. Yeah.
But yeah, again, they've used the field goal as punts for a long time, but it was punts off the net.
Right.
That's a
and you
big
actually
difference.
lined up. You know that you actually lined up for a field goal.
Mhm.
You actually had a holder.
Yeah.
I still think. I still think. I don't know if I would bring back the end zone rouge. Because right now, with the way that it's going when it comes to the deuce and being able to use the nets properly,
I don't bring back.
I don't mind kick catch interference.
Mhm.
I don't mind refs calling KCI. I don't. It's a part of the game. You should know if you kick the ball, you stay out of the end zone until the guy catches the ball.
Yeah, I don't bring back the end zone
That- that-
rouge, but I do bring back the rouge for kicks under the net, under into the sides of the net. If you miss the net completely,
because you miss a deuce. If you miss a deuce, that's going to happen.
risk reward.
Why should you don't need to be rewarded? It's kind of like, and I say that coming from somebody who has consistently followed a league where you can win a game by missing a field goal and getting a single rouge by kicking the ball out of the end zone, which I
Mhm.
think should somehow be modified, especially on a game-ending play. I honestly think I think there should be some limitations to when the deuce can be kicked.
I honestly, I'm good with the deuce win. I like that it's not available on a safety.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
That's good. I forgot about that too. Yep. And refs are getting it right this year when it comes to saying if there is a major penalty, that the deuce is not eligible.
Mhm. And I like that. But yeah, I mean, if you're like, so that's why I like that if it goes under the net or to the side of the net, if you're kicking it that hard just to kick it that hard, or you don't get enough of it, it adds a little more risk. If you're going for an additional 2 points, possibly getting 10 points on that possession, hey, you know what? If you did get enough of that ball and it went underneath the crossbar, well, yeah, now you only got 7 of those 8.
Yeah, but also doesn't some of the low ceilings kind of the
You're
kink
probably
into
not
that?
going to get the deuce anyway at that point.
No, but
then you just got to
I
kick
remember
it into the
I
net.
remember Billings this week. Dean Faithful was he altered his kicking style because of how low the ceilings were.
Mhm.
So, and that means more squibs and more indoor football type of kickoffs. And please,
Yeah.
people come at me. To me, that's what it is. You don't
Maybe
kick off it. You don't kick off an indoor football.
maybe it
You
needs to be
squib kick. You squib
nets or a rouge.
I don't know.
If you don't kick it into the nets, it's a rouge. It eliminates a squib. It eliminates, and that would make for ending of games more exciting when somebody scores at the last second. They can't just squib it and not get a return.
Unless it's you're saying unless it's an actual onside kick, because obviously
Unless onside kick,
the rules have to be written in such a way. I don't
Right.
know. It's an interesting thought. It's an
May
interesting
force
thought.
them to use the nets, basically.
And force them to get a real kicker.
Mm-hmm. So, something needs to be done in the kicking game. It got significantly better as game year went on.
Yeah, it's been a detriment for Washington all season. I'm
Mhm.
sure their kicker's a nice guy, but I think it's been a detriment for the team all season.
I can't imagine he enjoys being trotted out there to kick.
Yeah.
I mean, he knows it's not going to go where it needs to go.
No.
Yeah, he can't be loving it, you know. And if he is, man, I'm sorry if you're watching this and you're upset that I just said that, man. It doesn't look like you're enjoying yourself kicking.
It's not the same. It's not the same. As you said, it's the spirit of the rule.
Mm-hmm. Obviously, overtime, that's got to change. Just
Yeah,
flat out.
I still
And I
think
think that will change.
every team needs to have one chance.
Which thankfully we did get in our one overtime game so far. Everybody got a chance to get the ball, which is great. Maybe that's a situation where you do deactivate the deuce.
Yeah.
In overtime, deuce is not allowed.
Yeah.
Maybe that's your situation where that comes into play. That needs to change for sure.
Yeah, we'll see. And obviously,
the game works though.
I still would love to hear the thoughts on how this rule got changed. I'm curious. So, and obviously there are other announcements hopefully will coming out from the league soon when it comes to name of the championship game. I guess the unveiling of the new trophy.
Yeah.
What they're going to name the trophy. I understand it's arena. It's AF1, but do you give a nod?
Do I? Yes.
To Jim Foster again.
Yeah, I mean, but at the same time, Major League Baseball doesn't. No,
NBA does.
Maybe it does.
NBA does. CFL does. NFL does.
Is NFL? I mean, Lombardi
Trophy,
but not the creator of the game.
No, but it's named after somebody who has had major significance. And yes, I understand James Naismith for the NBA. I get that.
Do you go with
Lord Stanley did not create hockey, but he was a major. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's
you go with the Markham Cup.
No, I think it'll be something trophy. I don't think it'll be cup. I haven't heard anything, but I'm curious to see where they go with the design. Because we do know that a company is creating one, or the league is creating one. So
if you go the NFL route with a legendary coach,
there's been so many.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind calling it Lombardi in the NFL. So I don't know. Maybe they're trying to.
But they're trying to distance themselves from the league.
They're trying to go their own path, but you can't mistake because, and this is just my thought, is that before there was the Arena Football League, Scott, there was arena football. Period.
Mm-hmm.
And it was created by Jim Foster.
Yeah, I'd be
naming it after a head coach. I don't think you can do now, considering where AF1 is.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. To me, it's either call it the whatever the championship game is going to be called, the AF1
whatever championship trophy.
Yeah, but I would petition the league and the execs to. You're playing arena football. You're not playing indoor football. You're playing arena football. And again, before the Arena Football League, there was arena football.
No, he wouldn't be here without Foster.
Jim Foster came up with arena football.
Mm-hmm.
I would petition the league to call it the Jim Foster Championship Trophy.
I'd love for him to make an appearance. It's been a few years since I've seen him.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'd love to see him come back for sure. It's
Yeah.
hasn't been quite the same without him.
Yeah. And Jerry has been around such a long time. Jerry has never named a trophy after himself, even when he was with commissioner.
He had the conference trophy for a little
Did he?
while. Yeah, it was Kurz and Nero trophies for the conference
Yeah,
for a
but I
little
don't
while.
think that was based off of that. That wasn't based off. Kurz wasn't a commish.
No,
Wasn't that? That was when Baker was commissioned.
I think so. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's all
So.
blending together.
Again, I think but again, whatever you guys, chime in, socials, chat, like, subscribe, whatever. Let us know what you think.
If you're watching on Evergreen,
Um,
follow us
Yeah,
on the socials. Again,
Yeah.
we are on Evergreen usually the next day. Usually we're up on the
Yeah.
next day. They're pretty good
Yeah.
about getting us posted. It's been awesome working with those guys. They've been super helpful, real responsive. I've been absolutely thrilled to be on Evergreen. Yeah,
I agree. And again, it's a great partner. Great partner.
and I only see more coming for the league, for everybody involved. I think it's been an excellent relationship.
As you said, just need to get some more shows up there.
We're getting there. We're building our library. We got a couple more coming.
I could say the guys over at World of Football, they do a post game thing for arena football. Why not them? I'll make a suggestion to them to try it out.
Definitely. Well, Tim, another great one in the can.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. See who we asked. See who we're able to get for next show. Send Scott some ideas and myself some ideas, or who you want us to have on. We have a couple of ideas, but I mean, it's
What do y'all want to see? Who do you guys want to see come up? Give us a shout. And again, I've made this plug before. If you're interested in doing, getting involved, reach out to us. We can get you set up with whether it's writing, photography, which Tim just actually had. You want to talk about Andy's work?
Yeah, well, it's Andy Lipesnack is a longtime arena fan vet, a guy who has been a photographer for Arena Fan for a while. If you happen to have watched, by the way, sometimes you may have seen his work without even knowing it. Some of it, a lot. He used to work. Yeah, I think he still does, but I know he has a long history with CBS Sports and NFL football, where he was some of his static shots that you've actually seen on NFL broadcasts. But if you head over, we did. Andy was at the Nashville game this past week again, and he took some photos, and they are available over on the Arena Fan Facebook page. Andy's a great photographer, and he has a good eye, and there's some very unique shots that he's actually put up. So, if Tyler, we show Tyler one of the photos that he took, if he says, "Yeah, I want that one," it's like, here, it's good when.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
that's what I'm talking about. If you're interested in, getting your own opinion out there, talking about your favorite team, talking about the league, writing articles, taking pictures, doing a podcast like this, reach out. We're both available. AFL Slasher pretty much everywhere for me. Repack for Tim. We'll be happy to help you get set up and get you involved, get you the connections you need to get. And we at this point we know enough folks to get you guys what you need. So reach out, get involved. It's never too late. It's a community thing, and it's all about building that community.
It's an idea, Charles. I can see if Andy's willing. Can't make you promises, but it's a good idea. Thanks for suggesting it.
Definitely. So yeah, I'll see a big week this week. I think the real big week's coming up in 2 weeks. I think that's the one that's going to really define where the rest of the season's going to go. But
starts this week really on Sunday with the Billings game.
Mm-hmm.
It all starts there.
Yeah,
Nashville, so.
But yeah, I think next week, this week's big, next week's bigger. Those matchups the matchups mean significantly more. But yeah, should be some great games. Should be a good time as always. I mean, even the blowouts are still entertaining. So
to
again,
an extent. Let's get another good game on Vice, please.
that's the key.
Please.
Gotta get those Vice games, get the top picks with those Vice games. But yeah, until next week, we'll see if we can get some good folks on and take care all. We'll talk to you then.